The first stone in the hospital of San Juan de Dios, what today is MARQ, was laid in November 1924 by the then governor of the province, Bermúdez de Castro. The provincial hospital, designed by Juan Vidal Ramos in 1926 and promoted by the Provincial Council of Alicante, aimed to be a hospital of hospitals. And today it is a museum of museums, a centre that is internationally renowned for its philosophy of archaeological exhibition and research. The origins of MARQ emerged in the last glow of the 19th century, a time in which the budding bourgeoisie identified a serious gap in the development of culture and the sciences. One of the consequences of this was the development of the Archaeological Museum of Alicante, which fell under the auspices of the Provincial Commission on Monuments and the Provincial Council of Alicante. Opened on the 17th of January 1932 by the recently elected President of the Republic, Niceto Alcalá Zamora, it did not take long for it to become a reference point in the science of archaeology in this province. The Civil War wreaked devastation throughout society, and in the world of culture as well. The museum needed extensions and improvements, and it was reopened in 1949 under the leadership of Father Belda. In 1965, it was included in the national body of professional archives, libraries and museums. And 1 year later, Dr. Enrique Llobregat Conesa became director. In 1994, the Ministry of Culture of the Valencian Regional Government recognised it as a museum. And 1 year later, the idea to move all of these dreams to the obsolete hospital was conceived. Thus, a new concept was created in order to respond to a growing social demand for culture and leisure, based on a new model of cultural transmission. The future museum, which was designed by the architect Julián Esteban Chapapria, and a group of professionals headed by the archaeologists Rafael Azuar, Manuel Olfina and Jorge Soler, met all the needs of the old centre. The new MARQ opened its doors to the public in June 2000, and its building was officially opened by Her Majesty Queen Sophia on the 28th of May 2002. These were the first steps in a forward-looking plan developed by the Provincial Corporation, which was presided over by Julio de España Moya. A different type of cultural and leisure experience, more in line with modern times. With up-to-date policies on the storage, conservation, restoration, and exhibition of its legacy, when new technologies are applied to the fields of documentation, research, and exhibition. With a large professional team capable of handling future growth. MARQ's challenge. The old hospital, conceived in 1924, is today one of the most renowned museums on the international scene. In addition to housing, conserving, researching, and interpreting thousands of artifacts, it is a pioneering institution in its concept of transmitting all of this information. It is also a place that is set up for the exchange of scientific knowledge, for holding congresses and meetings. It is a cultural addition to the wide variety of tourist and leisure activities available on the Costa Blanca. The Provincial Archaeological Museum of Alicante combines a scientific rigour with an ability to offer the public its collection in an educational and enjoyable way, thanks to the design of its halls and the application of new technologies focused on disseminating its contents. It is the type of cultural and leisure facility that is needed by a city entering the 21st century, in a state of constant development and growth. MARQ boasts more than 9,000 square metres, and its collection exceeds 100,000 pieces, of which more than 3,000 are exhibited in the different halls. Another 18,000 are being prepared to be exhibited, and approximately 80,000 are conserved in its storage facilities. Although new objects are constantly being added, MARQ has room to grow for about another 15 years. To these many features, we must add the work of the most renowned professionals in the field of archaeology, restoration, history, and other sciences from the universities of Alicante, Elche, and Valencia, as well as professionals in the fields of image and sound. Its main mission has been to make available to the public all the information resulting from archaeological research. 217 linear meters of exhibitions, 254 original drawings, and 50 meters of life-sized murals. 18 audio-visual presentations of more than 3 hours duration. 14-meter-long screens on which original historical documents are shown. 17 interactive points where visitors can find additional information on the sites. 3-dimensional models which show us the transformation of the landscape over the course of thousands of years. The museum also has special housing and rooms for researchers, space outdoors for setting up tents, a cafeteria restaurant, a bookshop, and a modern library, which was adapted from the chapel of the old hospital, with more than 10,000 titles, journals, and historical archives. It also has 3 rooms for housing temporary exhibitions or holding activities for school children. It is important to note the museum's educational work, which it views as fundamental for conveying the value of our historical heritage to all sectors of the population, and its development of strategies for capturing the interest of young people, such as the creation of Umik, MARQ's mascot, a likeable character inspired by one of the prehistoric idols of schematic art. Thanks to these methods, visitors can immerse themselves in the history of our land, and Alicante still waiting to be discovered. The most important work carried out by the Provincial Council of Alicante, together with other institutions, has focused on 3 sites that have been investigated by MARQ: the archaeological parks of Fenton, the Ibero-Roman city and birthplace of the modern-day city of Alicante, the site at La Illeta dels Banyets in El Campello, where remains from the Bronze Age and the Iberians lie, and the Museum of Cave Art, and the sites at the sanctuary of Pla de Patracos in Castel de Castells. There are more than 3,000 catalogued archaeological sites in the province of Alicante, and an infinite number of historical constructions and archaeological museums spread throughout different towns. These places make up the main source of the collection of the Provincial Archaeological Museum of Alicante, and represent our cultures and our people's truest and richest permanent heritage. All of these places and events appear in MARQ's permanent and travelling exhibitions using interactive points, audio-visual montages, and explanatory panels. When visiting the museum, we can find a selection of the best artefacts as well as the possibility of accessing a network of cultural infrastructures. MARQ's archaeological parks. Tourist routes that invite us to experience at first hand the adventure of archaeology and to learn about the most unique enclaves on the Costa Blanca. These places allow us to learn more about the origins of this welcoming land through trails, paths, reconstructions and educational explanations devised by specialists from MARQ. The first, and one of the most invaluable archaeological tours proposed by MARQ, is the visit to Fenton, located in El Tossal de Manises in Albufereta, Alicante. This Roman settlement was built on what was previously an Iberian settlement whose name is unknown. On this hill overlooking the seashore where the lagoon, which dried out in the 1920s, used to be, an entire Roman city has been documented. The harbour, the thermal baths, the forum, homes, shops, walls, mosaics. Lucentum is a large outdoor museum whose stones breathe history and which is continuously undergoing a process of excavations, the different phases being open to the public as they are prepared for display by the museum. Our tour also brings us to the Islamic cemetery, the Roman Forum and part of a neighbourhood, as well as to a cross street that connects one side of the wall to the thermal baths and to a part of Popilio Street. Between 2002 and 2003, the first steps in adapting this environment for public view were taken, although the archaeological and architectural actions had been initiated in 2000. And ever since then, progress has been made in exhuming new remains from the Ibero-Roman city. MARQ's tour through this archaeological park is a walk through this bustling city in the Roman province of Tarraco. In a completely different environment, amongst waves and sandstone, we can find La Illeta dels Bagnets in El Campello. At this site, there is a Bronze Age settlement, a later Iberian settlement, and finally a Roman villa, although Islamic vestiges have also been found among the remains. La Illeta dels Bagnets is an easily accessible site, and its history ranges from the year 2500 BC to the abandonment of its cities and villas, probably around the 4th century AD. La Illeta was a vital centre for all the cultures that inhabited it. Especially interesting are a series of artefacts from the Bronze Age, Agar culture, burial sites, a cistern, and the remains of one of the huts. Amongst the Iberian artefacts, we can find storage containers, fishing tackle such as fish hooks, and special hooks for catching squid, objects made from esparto, wine presses, and some dwellings, and above all, remains of the important salting industry. On one side, we can see the remains of pottery kilns, which use technology similar to traditional kilns of today. In them, amphorae and other receptacles were made. This enclave was also the centre for receiving and redistributing merchandise from Greek and Punic traders. The sanctuaries excavated in La Illeta come from this Iberian period, places of worship in which traces of Punic influence have been found. These holy places were associated with the category of emporium, a trading port which was assigned a divinity in order to protect trading relations. But Rome's advance was unstoppable. During the next 3 centuries, the Iberian world would take on the new culture and be inexorably absorbed. Some of the main Roman traces in La Illeta are the villa and the thermal baths. Although the most representative remain from this period is the fish hatchery. Around the settlement, they would dig pools, where they would conserve live fish until they were ready to be processed. MARQ's last major offering is located amidst the mountains in the southern inland part of the county of Marina Alta. In Castel de Castells, one can find the Museum of Cave Art and the sanctuary of Pla de Petracos, in natural surroundings characteristic of the Mediterranean. Due to its geography and its state of conservation, this site is one of the most representative in the community of Valencia, as can be seen at the modern Museum of Cave Art in Castel de Castells. This centre is the result of a project supported by the Provincial Council of Alicante through MARQ, which has permitted the site to be catalogued for museum display. The complex includes a reproduction of the cave paintings found in the shelters of the sanctuary and a spectacular audio-visual display that helps visitors to imagine the prehistoric world of the first farmers through a combination of light, image and sound. This museum is essential for understanding the drawings in the sanctuary of Pla de Petracos. This site, which is ready for your visit, is comprised of 8 shelters that house cave paintings that represent macro-schematic and Levantine art from the prehistoric Neolithic period that began in the 6th millennium BC. In 1989, the site was declared a World Heritage Site. This type of painting is called macro-schematic because of its large size and the schematic nature of its drawings, whose focal points were human figures, indigenous to the province of Alicante, praying figures and plant motifs that reflect the way of life of those earliest farmers and shepherds. This sanctuary is believed to have been a place of encounter and worship in which beliefs, fertility, family ties and the agricultural cycle, the themes reflected in the paintings, were the subject of prayer. With the cultural initiative of tours to the most important archaeological sites in the province, the Provincial Archaeological Museum of Alicante provides alternatives to the entertainment available at the Terra Mítica theme park and the varied activities offered by the sun, the beach and the mountains on the Costa Blanca. An appealing activity within your reach, in the heart of the Mediterranean. The Archaeological Museum of Alicante is envisioned more as a cultural and leisure centre than as a collection of artefacts exhibited to the public. This new concept makes MARQ a complement to the leisure activities of the Terra Mítica theme park in Benidorm and the tourist activities made possible by the sun, the beach and the mountains on the Costa Blanca. With this unique formula, we can speak about the genesis of third-generation tourism in the province of Alicante. In this sense, the rich archaeological heritage exhibited in the museum is presented as a valuable and fascinating cultural alternative to leisure activities for both national and international visitors. In addition, it is a must-see encounter for the people of Alicante with their historic past and present. One of the museum's greatest contributions is the novel concept of establishing a network of cultural infrastructures for tourists through cooperation with numerous local museums, as well as showcasing sites as transcendental as the archaeological parks at La Illeta dels Banyets in El Campello from the Bronze Age and the Iberian period, or the Ibero-Roman town of Fenton in El Tossal de Manises in Albuferreta, Alicante. In addition to these exceptional enclaves, we also offer the museum and cave art tours, featuring the macro-schematic art complex at Pla de Petracos in Castel de Castells. With all of this, it aims to serve as a platform for learning about our province's invaluable archaeological heritage, and to open the possibilities of increasing the range of tourist activities available to a curious public that wants to spend time on cultural activities, such as those related to our history. MARQ, located close to the city of Alicante's commercial centre, is just a short distance from the castle of Santa Barbara, the city's main landmark, and near the Postiguet beach and the port of Alicante. Using the city's main avenues, Alfonso X el Sabio, Conde de Bayayano, and Denia, it is located only 10 minutes from the bus and train stations. And via National Route 332, it is only 30 minutes from El Altet International Airport, the main gateway to Alicante for visitors from all 5 continents. The Archaeological Museum of Alicante opens its doors to everyone. It provides the keys to a welcoming city and a province rich in history, marked by multiple cultures. Lucentum, Lagant, Alicante. The Costa Blanca has seen the inflow of tribes and peoples that have made it everything that is exhibited in MARQ.